I am a former United States Coast Guard navigator. I'm a chef by training, a food scientist by education, and I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, out of necessity, really. I'm a writer because of a passion. My love of words, in their hearing, in the reading of them, and in their writing, had a 20-odd year hiatus because I believed the callous words of a frustrated instructor while I was at school. Oddly, it was my experience in the disability advocacy world, specifically multiple sclerosis, that oiled the hinges of the door I had allowed that teacher to shut. My first writings on the topic of multiple sclerosis were in the form of scripts for MS webcasts I'd been hosting on the Seattle-based website healthtalk.com, founded by Andrew Shore. I stumbled into the hosting seat after being interviewed by the host's producer about a disease-modifying treatment that I was on at the time. The scheduled 15-minute recorded interview with Carolyn Delaney turned into a harmlessly flirtatious hour-and-a-half conversation. She and I still laugh at the fact that it was her husband, Dennis, who was the camera operator for that shoot. While wrapping up our interview, Carolyn asked me if I might consider sitting in for the vacationing host of an upcoming phone-in webcast program on a specific MS topic that I can't rightly remember after all these years. She had wanted to try having a person living with the health condition being covered to act as a moderator, and she thought I might be a good fit for the experiment. This was the spring of 2005. I was 39, and it was, ironically, nearly 4 years to the day that I was diagnosed with a disease, the symptoms of which I had been ignoring, explaining away, or having misdiagnosed for at least 18 years before that. It had been since the late 1980s that I'd sat behind a professional microphone. I moonlighted as a classical music radio broadcaster during my final Coast Guard assignment in Boston. The old skills were rusty, but Carolyn was forgiving and considered the experiment a success. I found the monthly interaction with our medical guests, patient advocates, and the nationwide MS audience stimulating. I followed the pre-written script, but I couldn't help myself in asking follow-up questions that I'd wanted and rightly assumed that patients listening wanted answered. Within a few months, producers ditched the sponsored patient advocates and asked me to write the script outlines for the programs. The audiences grew, and we were soon adding bigger and bigger trunk lines to accommodate the call-in side of the programs.